Hello, my name is Michelle Stancil, and I am proud to be running for Gulf Shores City Council Place 2. And I appreciate the Chamber setting up this opportunity for us to be able to try and communicate to our constituents as we've been safer at home and doing what we need to do for our citizens and our families and our community. This has been a real interesting process for me. I'm basically running for council last minute. It was not something I've ever thought about doing. I mean, I've thought about doing because I'm a doer and I've been on boards and things like that, but I was excited to see women running for office, and I was talking to my son about it, who was home for a very long spring break this year from college, and we were talking about issues in Gulf Shores and whether or not he would come back, and where just things about that we love about our community. And at that time, he kind of looked at me and said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" And I thought, wow. So I made a few phone calls to some women who I thought would be really great at on the council, and they're not time for them to run. And so it took me about another 24 hours to think about it. And like everything in my life, when it's time to do something, I know it. I know it intuitively that there were not enough reasons not to, and I care about this community. And having been here for 17 years, raising my son since he was 2, going through a divorce, changing jobs, having my corporate life dry up in 2009 with the changes in the economy, but doing whatever it takes to stay here because we love the community and the people and all the benefits of living here when you're head down, working hard, and you're working all day, doing car lines, picking up, doing sports, doing on boards and all that. Sometimes you take for granted what your city does for you, the parks, the sports, the amenities. And I think that I've had my head down for so long, and over the last 2 weeks getting through and looking at the strategic plans that were put in place in 2007 and again in 2014, and all the progress, I got really excited about wanting to be on that team to make a difference for this community, not just for tomorrow or the next day, but for generations to come. And everything I've done up until this point in my life, my corporate background, my skill set with leadership and collaboration, public speaking's not one of them. I'm a collaborator, a leader in team groups, and I have a really different perspective and ask questions. Everything I've done, even parenting, puts me in a position that right now, today, running to be your representative for Place 2 City Council is exactly where I need to be.
Michelle, one of the challenges faced by many of our local businesses is finding and maintaining adequate staffing to operate their businesses year-round. The challenge is complex and changes throughout the year based on the tourist seasons. But a large part of the challenge appears to be due to a lack of educational and training opportunities and affordable housing options in our area. Are you aware of such workforce development issues in our area, and how would you help our businesses address these challenges?
What an excellent question. And that has been something that in the last 2 or 3 weeks in investigating in our areas, I think it even relates to traffic. I mean, think about the workforce. I work the summers on the beach, so I'm driving on turn days when people are checking in, checking out. And most of the other people on the road are people who are working in the hospitality industry. And so when you think about the fact that, and I don't know if I have the numbers, that's why I have called people trying to get these numbers. We need to understand how much of our workforce does not live here because they can't afford it, because the supply and demand, or the rates are high because they're mixed use and they're competing with short-term vacation rentals. That we have it's going to be a roadblock for our city and for attracting new businesses if we can't have that skilled workforce, highly educated workforce, professionals, support, service industry, all of them be part of our local community. And right now I don't know that they are part of our local community. I feel like a lot of them, when you look at Foley and the growth there, they've built lots of apartment complex, really nice ones. They're building the kinds of infrastructure that a lot of our workers, that's where they live. They're not our voters. They only come here to help our businesses, but they're not part of our community, but they're giving to our community every single day. I have heard about so it's on my list. Affordable housing and workforce housing is very important to me. It's third on my list of the things that are a priority. I know it's not popular, but it's a reality, because right now, when you have kids that are working at the beach, that are driving in from Mobile every day because they can't find a place to live, then there's two things there. One is an inconvenience for them, and two, it's clogging up the roads. So it's compromising the problem that we all have with traffic. So let's get down to understanding what more we can do for student housing, maybe even snowbird housing in the summer that could be more community-based. I'm excited to see what the city has planned and how we can take it further in the next 20 years.
As our local area and economy grows, we need investments to expand and improve existing infrastructure. Such investments include things like better educational facilities, quality healthcare facilities, continued traffic improvements such as new roads and bridges, expanded access to high-speed internet, and better access to our natural resources and public facilities. What infrastructure issues would you like to address, and would you support continued investments to expand and improve our existing infrastructures?
Great question. I love how you've wrapped in so many different elements of infrastructure. On the things that I care about, definitely understanding the traffic, physical traffic, cars on the roads, what opportunities we have. I've read through that 2000 Tri-City study that they did by the Orange Beach, Foley, and Gulf Shores. I've read it a couple times. It's very long, very complex, very expensive. But what I have seen is it looks like cities, Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, have done some of those recommended things to get us to the point for possibly a trolley system or bus system, and that requires walkways and up the pedestrian bridge. So I'd like to see, when I get there, I'm not privy to it, what specific plans there are for taking us to the next level with these exciting projects that are already on the plate for the next 4 years. And then as far as internet, I mean, this has to be a time, having come here working for GulfTel in 2003, this region under the Chinooks probably had some of the highest penetration rates of DSL in the nation. There was a future forward looking, there was opportunity to lay fiber back then after hurricanes. And now today, I live in a home that can't even get more than 3 megs. And since now the online world, because of COVID and being at home and education being virtual and all of that, I actually have that on my list of things to do, or my priorities is to evaluate the service levels that companies have franchised to provide internet. They have a state franchise that they have to provide it. Check their level of service, hold them accountable, or let's put something else in place to get our community better wired so that our internet speeds at home and to the businesses are better than the dial-up part that they are now in some areas. Great question. That's near and dear to my heart.
Large events that are hosted in our area attract hundreds of thousands of visitors and help stimulate our businesses throughout the year. Such large events have been proven to benefit our local economy, but must also be balanced with the local quality of life issues. Do you have a position on the concerns with our area hosting such large events that attract large crowds to our city, and what might you do to address those concerns?
You know, not being a person that can run off on vacations and take my son places, some of the special times that we've had over the last 17 years here have been the events that are in this town. That's where we have memories, we built them, you know, that's where we have done things together. Being a photographer, I take a lot of pictures of these events and these gatherings and the people. So I love what a lot of that art and music brings, and culture and food, definitely food, art, and music. All of those bring so much to our, not only for our tourists, but to the local people. I mean, it did for my family. That was our getaway. Now, going forward, you know, there are concerns, and we have to listen to the quality of life and preserving that for our residents. And having been on the other side of it, it will be interesting when I'm elected to represent you for place 2 at the City Gulf Shores City Council is to see the data set behind all that, because I've never seen it. I mean, I don't know if there are, and I am an objective person, and if it's not right for our community, then we need to look at how to mitigate it, how to make some changes. Maybe one-day events are better than 5-day events. Maybe there's opportunity to use some of this beautiful green space for music for me to have concerts regularly, move it from our park maybe down to the beach on that, where that cool pavilion area is. I think we have a lot of opportunities. We just have to think out of the box, but we do have to take the cares and concerns from our business community, our residential community, retirement community, and tourism community, and understand what they expect when they're here. Safety, right? Quality of life, access to the beach. I think all of those are a fine balance that we'll, I think with a good working team at the chamber's doing it, at the City Council, that we can get to some best practices and best ideas.
So what is your position on how the city could balance the desire to encourage economic development with the need to limit certain businesses from operating in the city? And more specifically, do you think the city should have a role in controlling access to available food options, such as allowing food trucks and other options to operate in the city or not?
So these are some issues like when I'm head down and working on life that I didn't know were happening in our city. So I've seen them through this campaign process, some of the concerns and careabouts. And I don't know that I know enough to say I have a firm position, and how I feel about it may be different than what I learn about it. So I think that for every decision there needs to be a reason, and if decisions are not popular, then I think the city can do a better job at communicating why, and maybe that's a gap that leave people wondering they're not listening, if that's a perception. Then I think there needs to be a better coordination of the communication, and that's one of the first things I want to do the first 90 days I'm here. I believe, I may not call it the town hall forum, I think we need to have these community action teams again, so that you can talk to me, we can have a conversation like we're having now, and flesh that out, also document and follow up and give more public visibility to why maybe the food truck was a year, like question I have, why was it a year trial? Because that's hard to invest in something that may go away after the year when you hear the word trial. Maybe there were other reasons that make sense that that the city didn't do a good job explaining, but it left everyone kind of hanging, wondering what the heck, you know? We almost got what we wanted, but we didn't quite get it. I don't know enough about that, but I have a lot of questions. And that is, I think, a fair expectation as role as councilwoman would be to help have those dialogues be constructive, meaningful, and may not always get the answer you want, but at least you walk away knowing you got the truth. Or if the answer was wrong, then we need to evaluate the policies and change it. It's super important, but we need to be working together. There's too much division right now, and I'm going to fix that.